Story of the time that I was 2 hours away from home and I locked myself out of a car in a toll booth. So I entered a toll booth, didn't have an easy pass, and I didn't have any quarters. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take $1 and then run to the person behind me, ask them if they have extra change, and then, go from there. So I do that, right? He gives me the change, he's like, I'll keep the $1, it's fine, don't worry about it, have a great day. And I'm like, oh, thank you, sir. Run back to the car. Lo and behold, it's locked. I check all the doors, the trunk, everything. Nope. Of course, it was raining that day, so I didn't leave any windows open. Anyway, it was the only toll booth that accepted exact change. Every other booth was an easy pass lane, or it was like an all-round ticket or something that was like $30. So people were really not happy that I was stuck in the front of the line of that toll booth. And oh my god, this one guy, he was like 3 cars behind. I'm telling you, it accumulated a line. People were pissed. Anyway, he gets out of the car, right? Doesn't speak a lick of English. Has a giant beer belly. Probably he's like 6'5". Maybe in his like 50s or something. I don't know what he was. I don't know what language he spoke, but he didn't speak English. He starts like tugging on the door handle. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not gonna do anything. You need a key to unlock it. And he's like, keeps tugging. I'm like, oh my god. Then he starts opening up the gas cap and like looking inside of it and trying to like press something inside of it as if there's any buttons to unlock the car. Like, what? And then he starts screaming like for part 2. Story of the time this creepy old fart gave me $100 for no reason at all. Literally no reason. So I was working as a taxi driver for the past like 7 months. I quit now, but I would pick up my fair share of creepy old fart weirdos. And this one guy in particular, he would always wait for me at the bus station so that like he would see when I'm free so that I could be the one to drive him. Sometimes he would call, but most of the time he would wait for me specifically. At first, I didn't get a creepy vibe from him because I've taken this guy plenty of places before. Like, I took him an hour away, and then I took him 5 minutes away. I took him 30 minutes away. I've taken him places plenty of times. And every time that I picked him up, it was really good practice for me because he didn't speak much English, and I don't speak much Spanish, but we're both trying to learn. So we would try to communicate. I would try to speak Spanish to him. He would try to speak English to me, and it was good until he started saying some creepy stuff. This last and final time that I ever picked him up and that I'm ever going to pick him up because I don't work taxi anymore, he started asking me like, oh, your nails, like, why didn't you do them? Because I told him that I wanted to be a técnica de uña. I'm sorry, it's so cringy when I try to speak Spanish, but I'm trying to learn, okay? Anyway, so he's like asking me, why aren't my nails done? Why isn't my boyfriend like paying for my nails? And I was like, because he doesn't need to, because I do my own nails. Like, what? And he was like, okay, so you know what? I'll give you the money for it, but just don't tell your boyfriend. What is it, like 50, 75? And I just shook my head no, and then he gave me 100. Story of the time I quit a job because my boss was extremely discriminatory. I thought I was gonna butcher that word. Oh god. I would say the R word, but like I feel like it would get banned off TikTok, so So anyway, I worked at this place, and right off the bat I kind of got weird vibes from the lady that worked there. Like, she seemed nice, but she was also like very blunt and like straightforward, which there's nothing wrong with that, except for when you're extremely blunt and straightforward towards like your opinions about things that are extremely controversial. Why can't I speak today? Controversial. Yeah. So, oh my god. I'll just tell you like one story. Maybe I'll tell more in the future, but like I can't even express to you. I get angry. Like, I know I'm gonna get angry while I'm talking about this. So anyway, a group of people that spoke Spanish came to the stand, and they were just browsing. I was like trying to help them, but they didn't know what they wanted, which is pretty normal. I feel like every single person does that when they walk past the stand in a mall, So they end up walking away, not getting anything, which is, like I said, pretty normal. And the lady goes, I feel like I can't say this on TikTok. She's like, ugh, those people, like, they just never buy anything. Except, like, she said, like, Mexican. And I was like, how do you know that they're Mexican? Because whenever people say, like, really dumb stuff, I always just hit them with, like, a really stupid question. Like, not even a stupid question, like a good question, but one that makes them feel stupid, you know what I mean? And she was like, because look at them, like, you could just tell. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. I honestly, like, I can't tell. Like, you could tell that they're Hispanic, but like, they definitely don't look, Mexican. And she was like, what? That's literally the same thing. Like, what are you talking about? And it's crazy. Like, I forgot to mention this, but she literally moved here from a different country like a few years ago. So I just like don't get how she could be so ignorant, Anyway, we had jewelry imported from Mexico and from Guatemala. So one day this guy comes in, it's like right before Valentine's Day. He's like, oh, I have to get my wife something really special because her birthday's on Valentine's Day. And like, I have to knock both of those events out at once by getting her something extravagant, blah, blah, whatever. So I showed him the jewelry from Guatemala because it was pretty expensive, And the lady's like, did you tell him it's imported from Guatemala? Did you tell him that it's handmade? Blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, oh, which one is it? From Mexico or Guatemala? And she's like, you should know this. This is the first thing I taught you, from Guatemala. And I was like, well, they look the same. Like, how could you tell? And hopefully that made her feel stupid.